I don't remember the exact month, but it was in 1940 that my parents, my grandmother, mother's mother, and Henok, born in 37, they went to Germany. As landowners, he certainly knew that we were not on any esteemed list and had best leave as soon as we could. And we pretended to be German. That's what allowed us to go to Germany. There was a case of French cognac that allowed us, or helped the process. We had some German documents, and that allowed us in part also to emigrate to Germany. In 1941, their second son, Ilmar, was born. I was born a year later in 42, so there were three of us, three boys. And again, during the German occupation, they had nothing to fear from the Germans, and because my father was totally fluent in German, having studied there for years, we moved back to Estonia. Life was quite reasonable, and I wish I knew exactly what year the bombing occurred, but during the time that my parents were in Põltsamaa, where they met each other, my mother wanted to, on the side or in the evening, operate a restaurant because her distant cousin wanted to change from being an automobile mechanic to become a cook. So they opened up a restaurant that was right on the river, on the main bridge that crossed the river, and that was bombed. The bomb was intended for the bridge, but it hit the restaurant. So it's basically, even a few years ago when I visited downtown Põltsamaa, it's still largely a hole in the ground. At one point, we moved back to Tallinn. My father sent my mother, my grandmother, and the three of us to Germany. And he was going to stay in Tallinn until the last moment. We left. And at the last possible moment, my father decided to leave also, and he packed his bags, and he had the help of a chauffeur or driver. And what he laments is that he put all his jewelry into a shoe, thinking that if there's anyone that would inspect the bag, they would not look inside the shoe. Well, my father's driver, helping with the packing, saw that there's only one shoe in the bag, so he threw it out. So it's just one of those things that happens even under the best of intentions. So he got on what was recognized to be the last boat out of Tallinn, and they headed south and stopped at Ventspils in Latvia. And the decision was made by the boat operator to go back to Tallinn one more time, and they did not have time to go all the way down to Germany. So all the passengers disembarked in Ventspils, and the boat went back to Tallinn to pick up another load. And everyone was stayed in the church, waiting for the boat eventually to come back. My father, again, was resourceful enough that he did not want to be in that group, and was able to acquire an apartment across the street. And the next morning, the Russians appeared, and all the men were conscripted into either the Soviet army or sent to Siberia. And my father was witnessed that event, was able to hide, and eventually, and it's not totally clear to me how he got to Germany from there, but he was successful. My mother, on the other hand, she got news that the boat only got as far as Latvia, and that everyone on the boat, all the males, were under Russian hands. My mother got word that father was probably sent away, was under Russian control, and she was expecting my youngest brother, and she was really unclear as to what to do, and it was not really. It was certainly going to be difficult to try to raise four kids with the primary breadwinner not part of the family. But just as she was lamenting, or trying to understand what to do, my father appeared. So everything worked out very well. And we were initially went to Geislingen, Wilhelmshöhe, which is a DP camp, this was in the U.S. zone. But at some point, it was determined that we were not DPs, displaced persons, because we had already escaped once before. And so our status was very different than everyone else. So we were, in essence, kicked out of the DP camp. But my father worked for the U.S. Army. As an engineer, one of the functions he performed, it was he inspected bridges to make sure that they're structurally sound for the movement of tanks and heavy military hardware. And so my father actually worked in Frankfurt, in probably the central office for that operation. But he made enough money that we rented an apartment in Geislingen. But I distinctly remember that I had a ball that I was playing with, and a German took away my ball, and I was just so annoyed. And I complained to my parents, and they said, well, just let it be. And they knew who that young man was. He was the son of a police officer in town, and we had just had no authority to basically. We could not complain, and there went my best toy. I mean, we obviously had not much to play with, so it was pretty clear to me at that time that we were not German. That this is not a place where we would live comfortably. We were very interested in moving to the U.S., but the quotas were always full, but we did manage to get papers to Argentina. And my father carried those papers with him, and he was inspecting a bridge, and of course he was crawling around underneath the bridge looking at it, and someone broke into his car, stole his documents, and we lost our opportunity to go to Argentina. Well, in retrospect, I'm so happy. Virtue of the fact that we lost our papers, our immigration was delayed, and by then we were able to come to the United States. I very distinctly remember taking a boat from Bremerhaven to Boston, and I had really bad recollections of that trip. I was seasick every day, and if you know anything about seasickness, I would describe it as something that you want to die, but you don't. It is horrible, and it's especially horrible when you see everyone around you vomiting, either overboard or in the bathroom, and it's very contagious. We had ground up grapefruit peels. We took as vitamins, and we ate grapefruit on the boat. And to this day, I just can't eat grapefruit. That was just a bad experience. As we were approaching Boston, and I had seen enough American comic books, I was really anxious to see Superman, because I knew he flew. I mean, that was as soon as we saw land, I was up on deck, keeping a lookout for Superman. But I've been in the U.S. now for over 60 years, and I still haven't seen him.